new machine would have cost us upwards of $250,000. That upgrade that they did to the machine cost me $472. So there's almost always another way than to go out and spend money you don't have on equipment that you might or might not need. And I've seen so many small businesses fail because they had to have the biggest and the best machine. They just couldn't compete without it. But as soon as there's a little downturn, as soon as COVID comes around and your sales go to zero for a couple months, the banks don't care.
This is Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled. And now your host, A.D. Edwards.
Welcome back to another episode of Ingleside Reviews, Innovators Unveiled, the show where we go behind the brands and inside the minds of innovators, trailblazers, and legacy builders shaping industries today. If you love inspiring stories of entrepreneurship and transformation, make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us bring incredible conversations straight to you. Today's episode is truly special. We're sitting down with not just one, but two extraordinary entrepreneurs. Brian and Sally Krichbaum, the husband and wife duo behind Gilbert Chocolates, are here with us today. Gilbert Chocolates is a company with over a century of history in Jackson, Michigan. When they purchased this beloved brand in 2013, Brian and Sally weren't just buying a business, they were preserving a legacy. Since then, they've brought production back downtown, honored century-old recipes, and breathed new life into a historic name. We're diving into their journey as business owners, legacy stewards, and innovators who are proving that sometimes the sweetest success comes from blending tradition with vision. Brian and Sally, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
Great to be here.
Now, you all, I would have to say, are living the dream of every kid that I've ever known. You own your own chocolate candy company. How about that, huh?
Pretty fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's
so
sweet.
Before you all, yes, I'm sure it is very sweet. Now, before you all started this company, where were you guys individually as far as your paths, professional-wise, as a couple?
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom for most of my life. I did a lot of volunteer work, and also I did some freelance writing. But mostly, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was prepared then when it came time to buy this business. I was ready to step right into it.
Yeah, I was.
And what about you?
I have an engineering degree, and so I worked mostly in automotive. As an engineer, and eventually I became an executive at a major automotive supplier here in the Detroit area. And I did that for several years and eventually grew weary of it and left that to become a consultant. And I did that for 12 years, which is how I came to know Gilbert Chocolates. I was actually consulting to the owner of Gilbert Chocolates. And when we got done with, the improvement plan, he said to me, "I'm too old for this. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to sell the company and let someone younger do it." So I took a candy bar home, gave it to Sally, and 6 months after that, we were the owners of Gilbert Chocolates. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
So that's a great story. Now, when you guys looked at this company, what drew you to buying the company? Because I know it wasn't just the taste of the chocolate, but this is a big undertaking. So what drew you guys to this?
Well, it was nearby, for one thing. We lived 45 minutes away from the factory, and so it was something where it wouldn't require a huge move or anything like that. It was within our price range. That was helpful too. And then we'd always been considered buying a company too.
Yeah, so I've been looking to buy a small company for several years, and we tried a couple of times and it just never panned out. But they were businesses that I would have run and controlled, unlike Gilbert Chocolates, which we can do together. So it was a better fit for us as a couple than the others. Although I have to say, it took me 3 years to learn that, being an executive and having employees is significantly different from owning a company and working for your wife.
Such a joke. Such a joke.
Man, that was a heck of a punchline. I was waiting for something else. So you say it took like 6 months. You said 6 months later. So in between the interim, was there a this is it moment that you knew that Gilbert Chocolates was the right fit for your family? Because you at some point within the 6 months you clicked the switch and you made the decision.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of, it was, I consider it providential because it was right when our youngest child was leaving the nest, and it was like, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. And Brian came home with this candy bar and is like, wow, this is really good chocolate. And then he sprung it on me. I want to buy this company. And so it took a few weeks to convince me that this was a good opportunity, that the numbers would work out. And after that, it was waiting on the owner to decide to pull the trigger, which he finally did, and sold it to us on November 1st of 2013, which was really mean of him. But we're still friends. But it was really mean because we'd never done retail ever. And here we were for the Christmas season, and it was quite the experience.
Yes, lots of
summer.
chocolates.
So this happened in the spring. That summer, we went down to Cincinnati to go to a Cincinnati Reds game with family. Sally's family is originally from the Cincinnati area. So we all went down there and went to the Reds game, and we were driving home by ourselves. The kids were going back to college or something. So it was just Sally and I in the car, and we're driving through Dayton, and she says, well, you talked me into it. I'm like, great. What are we talking about? And that was the aha moment. It's like, oh, this is going to happen now. So it was like July 5th, 2013. Was that aha moment.
Okay. Now, you mentioned it was the Christmas season, November. Is there certain times of the year that's busier than others?
Oh, yeah. Christmas is the busiest. And then Valentine's Day, and then Easter, and then Mother's Day. And eventually, after the 4th of July, we come to the desert where nothing happens for a month or so. So, yeah, absolutely.
Christmas is crazy.
Yeah. And that first year in particular was a devastating winter. It was a very tough first year. There was an ice storm that came through Lansing, and we had a store up there we had just opened, and only the mall had power, but for a whole week, all of Lansing didn't have power, and we didn't have power at the factory. And it was a very tough first year to get through, but we did.
So it sounds like the previous owner knew that Christmas was coming, so he said, let me do it now, and you inherited it.
Yeah,
but it was baptism by fire, so that's fine. You learned in the deep end.
Yeah.
But he did stay with us for a year, which was helpful. So, because he didn't want to see Gilbert Chocolates fail. So, he did stick with us and offer advice and things like that. So he is a friend. He's a good friend.
That's awesome. So speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about legacy and history, because he didn't want to see it go under. And Gilbert Chocolates has been around for over 100 years. What does that responsibility feel like on a daily basis?
Well, we've been in this for 12 years now. We're kind of used to it. But we like to say that we are not just the owners. We are really the caretakers of Gilbert Chocolates. And that's a deep statement. It means that the recipes, the processes that make the candy the best you've ever had, it's our responsibility to keep that alive, to keep that quality at the levels that it needs to be. It means that history of Gilbert Chocolates, we often get invited to meetings around town. Every place has historical societies, and we have them here too. And so we're a member of the historical society, and we're often invited to speak at events around the county to talk about Gilbert Chocolates and what it's been and what it's becoming. And and that history is a big part of the business. We didn't start this business, and we didn't save the legacy of Gilbert Chocolates until now. And now it's our turn. It's our turn to keep the legacy, to keep the company strong, because this town, this city, this area loves Gilbert Chocolates. And whether we're the owners or when we get done, whether it's our kids or someone else, it's our responsibility to make sure it's strong for the future. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to make it stronger. We're trying to make it better. 75 years ago, Gilbert Chocolates was the dominant chocolate company in Michigan. And that's our goal. We think it should be the dominant chocolate company in Michigan again. We're not there yet, but we're working on it, and we're getting better every day. And we have a store in Ann Arbor now in the Briarwood Mall. That's where the University of Michigan's at. So we opened this store in the Briarwood Mall, and we've been there for 6 months or so. We've been there 4 years now, but after we'd been there 6 months, a customer comes in, and she's carrying this football program from the University of Michigan from 1947. It's the University of Michigan versus Indiana University. And she brings this program in, and right there in the centerfold of that football program is an advertisement, Gilbert Chocolates, right there. And, that's a big deal. And so right when we come back to Ann Arbor, there's a customer bringing this, showing the history that we're not strangers to Ann Arbor. We've just been gone for a long time. So that's how we see the responsibility.
So how do you approach honoring the original recipes and the traditions while still modernizing the business? Because even though the recipes may have been around, a lot of stuff has changed in the candy industry. A lot of different things have become popular. So how do you juggle or balance rather both?
You want to answer.
You want me to do it? Okay. Well, the recipes are the same. 100 years ago, when Gilbert Chocolates made their candies, they had to manufacture, for example, the marshmallow cream that's one of the ingredients. You couldn't just go out and buy 1,000 pounds of marshmallow cream. And so they had to make it, and so they had the equipment and the employees that was their job, make marshmallow cream. Now it's a little different. We don't have to make marshmallow cream. There's a great company in Wisconsin that we buy from, and they make world-class candy cream. And so we buy that, which is an ingredient that we add to the creams that we make here. So it's a little easier. We have options, and the same on some of the flavorings. We use this ingredient that's called mash, and it's a fruit product, but there's orange mash and maple mash and raspberry mash and strawberry mash. It's like the thickest jam you've ever seen in your life, and it doesn't have anything artificial in it. It's just the fruit, in a very concentrated form. And they had to make that 100 years ago. They had to go out and buy the strawberries and cook it down until they had the mash. And now there's a company that we buy it from that does the same thing, but it saves us and other places like us the trouble of all that time and effort it takes to make the mash. So in that regard, there's some things in the process that are a lot easier than they used to be. But that core recipe, you got the mash, you put it in, you got the cream fluff, you put it in, and you do everything. The marble tables that we use here at Gilbert Chocolates, are the same marble tables they were using 120 years ago. I've got pictures of them. I've got pictures of them from 100 plus years ago. And there it is. The chip in the table is there. You know that it's the same table. The
Right.
candy extruder is on the corner of that table. And that's the candy extruder that we use every day. So that's the legacy side. The modernization side is that candy extruder that Gilbert Chocolates has been using for 120 years. We use it today, but the top end, the top half of it now has a PLC on it. It's got a stepper motor. Instead of turning a crank, we push a button and it goes a precise distance and it measures the forces and it makes the adjustments so that every candy center comes out exactly the same. But the process is the same, as far from what the candy sees.
Now, I don't know if this is a trend, but I know it's something new in my opinion. I've seen a lot of these companies with the sugar-free versions of the chocolates, like Hershey's and like Reese's Pieces, sugar-free versions. And I know that's a modern thing. What's your thoughts on that? I know that, and believe it or not, some of these sugar-free taste very similar to the ones with sugar. So
We do have
what's your
some.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, we do have some sugar-free that we offer. It's not a big seller in the store, so we don't try to make too much of it at a time. We also have a dairy-free chocolate bar, which is really good. You can't tell the difference. So we make those ourselves because we just don't, we can't buy the chocolate or anything from anyone else. We don't make enough. So we make those ourselves and we sell them to the people who want it. And so, yes, we do have some of the things like that. We don't do a bean to bar. We had a bean to bar for a while, but it just didn't sell. And so we just didn't have it. So.
And so, you think there's, think there's fads in the business, but like, we have the dairy free and we have the sugar free. We have those things that, because we don't want we don't want our customers going anywhere else to get their chocolates. So we have them. We sell about 30,000 pounds of chocolate a year. And all that stuff, that specialty chocolate stuff, the sugar-free, the vegan, the dairy-free, all together add up to 300 or 400 pounds a year. So it's like 0.1%. So it's there for the people who want it, but from our perspective, the hype about it and the reality on the ground isn't the same. The people don't want the sugar-free. They want the good stuff.
Our sugar-free is good
too. There's nothing like traditional chocolate that America's used to and the world is used to. And I was trying to think of what are the modern changes, and that's the only one I can think of, because basically good chocolate is traditionally made and it's been the same for years. Now, you mentioned the table. Are there other artifacts with historic stories that may inspire you all to keep the tradition going?
Well, one of the more interesting things is that we have a caramel cutter. It's like a guillotine, but it's well designed, but it's got a big wheel, and you have to turn the wheel in order to get the table to move, in order to cut the caramel. And so that is how we still cut our caramel. It's done in that fashion. We offer tours on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and that's one of the things that we like to demonstrate. It's an interesting piece of equipment that is just fun.
And the one I would point out was probably our chocolate melters. We have these 400-pound chocolate melters. They're essentially a hot water heater. We put the chocolate in. There's a agitator that stirs it, and it melts the chocolate. Those chocolate melters had hot water heater temperature controllers on them. And a couple years ago, we received an order for like 750 pounds of chocolate bark. Well, chocolate bark wasn't really in our wheelhouse. It would take us, we could do 20 or 30 pounds a day at the most. So we figured out what we needed to do to temper the chocolate in the melters. So essentially we took those 100-year-old temperature controllers off, and we put modern thermocouples and temperature controllers in their place. Now we can control the temperature of the chocolate within half a degree, so we can temper 100 pounds of chocolate at a time. So we're still using the 120-year-old chocolate melter, but we have 1-year-old temperature controllers, the modern technology that allows us to control that melter to a much more precise, with much more precision. And that makes a big difference,
So that's interesting. Now, when you think about the changes, one of the big changes that you all did was move the place downtown Jackson. Now, what's been the community's reaction to you bringing production back downtown?
Oh, they were delighted. In fact, the mayor of the time came down and gave us a little plaque. They were so glad we moved back downtown. Jackson always seems like it's on the verge of just breaking forth. And we moved down here in 2016, and then and things they were building apartments and things down here. And then 2020 hit, and it just seems like we're back to square one. But we were delighted too, by the way, to move back downtown. We were in this little tiny cottage, about 800 square feet, and what you heard the most in that whole place was, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, you're my way. Excuse me." And so when we came back down here, it was like 2,000 square feet, 2,400 square feet on the main floor, and it was like, wow, it's so big. And now it's beginning to feel tight again, but it is a really good thing, and the community was excited about it.
And they buy 3 times as much chocolate as they did 12 years ago. So we're excited about that.
Yes, well, that's always a good thing. I have a question. I don't know if this is considered chocolate or not, but I remember as a kid going to Michigan, but we were in the Upper Peninsula, and we went to a place called Mackinac Island a couple of times, and all I saw them make was fudge, and I loved it. I had never had it before. Do you all make fudge as well? And is that considered a chocolate?
Yes, we make fudge, and yes, it's considered a chocolate. There you go. Easy answer.
Yeah. And Mackinac Island's the same. You go to Mackinac Island today, well, it's exactly the same because they don't have cars. They only have horses and buggies, and they have at least half a dozen fudge shops. But we make our own chocolate, peanut butter, other flavors, maybe 20 flavors of fudge here as well.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is that especially in Ann Arbor, it seems like in the summer, people will go up north and they'll come back and they'll buy our fudge. I think it reminds them of being up north and all those fudge shops, and they miss it, and so they buy ours when they come back down to home.
That makes sense. What was the biggest operational changes that you all made after taking ownership of the company? Was it the move?
That was 3 years after we bought it.
The move was the biggest project we've done. I mean, the place we moved into had been abandoned for 10 years. Previously, the last thing it had been was a pizzeria. We were moving out of a space of 800 square feet into a space of about 6,000 square feet. But that 6,000 square feet looked and smelled like it had been abandoned for 10 years. So we had to strip the building, take virtually everything out, redo it, replace it, put up a new wall between what was going to be the storefront and the factory. The upstairs of the building was awful, just awful. This building was built in 1890s. We don't know exactly when, but there's a train track that runs about 150 yards from here. And 120 years ago, they didn't have diesel locomotives. They had coal-powered steam locomotives.
Exactly.
And when we tore the ceilings down, that coal dust came pouring down, and
Wow.
it was
It was a
black
lot of work.
dust everywhere. And we had to carry all that stuff, all that debris, all that coal dust out in 5-gallon buckets. And I'm a cheapskate, so we did it ourselves. And
We worked on a shoestring. I would say the biggest operational difference is that we make a lot more of our candy. Like Brian was up in the attic of the cottage, and he brought down this machine, and it looks kind of like a little cement truck mixer thingy. And we didn't really know what it was, but it was to make cherry cordials. And by golly, we make our own now. So we make a lot more of our own product again. They over the years, when the company had floundered a little bit, gotten small, they'd stopped doing a lot of things. So we make our own peanut butter cups again. And so it's our product once again.
So how have you all adapted to modern retail challenges while maintaining that classic chocolate shop charm that you all have?
Have we adapted
I
to
don't know.
modern?
We've only owned it for 12 years, and so I don't know. It's kind of the same. We did remodel, and I think we did a fabulous job in our remodeling. But
Well, one of the things, we have a rewards program, and so if you come into our store, you can either log in with your phone number, or you can scan your phone, and we have this rewards program, and it allows us to communicate with our customers. It allows them to earn points towards free chocolates, and there's an app associated with that. They can get on their phone and order it from us in the rewards program through the phone. So that's a big deal. We have a DoorDash service like a lot of other places. So just today we had someone call from Atlanta and say, I want candy delivered to my mother who lives in Jackson. And so she went to the DoorDash site and she ordered candy. And so that kind of stuff wasn't at all in place when we took over.
Yeah,
even the internet, the e-commerce wasn't what it is now.
Yeah.
Yes, and that brings me to my next question. So what role has e-commerce or online presence played in your growth strategy as a company?
Percentage-wise, it's fairly small, but it still is. It's a high potential thing that we're always trying to improve. So the year before we owned Gilbert Chocolates, Gilbert Chocolates had $1,500 in online sales for the whole year.
Wow.
Now we have, especially in December, we have multiple days that will be 2 or 3 times that amount. So that online part is a lot bigger. It's still not a large fraction of what we do, maybe 10 or 20%, but it's a large potential. Yeah. And it's hard. Online's hard.
Yeah, it is.
In what ways?
Well, if somebody comes into our store and buys a pound of chocolate, we put it in a bag and they take it home with them. The same person goes to our e-commerce store and buys the same pound of chocolate. We have to
check the weather,
pull the order, check the weather, package it, put ice in it if it needs it, get the shipping labels, put it in the car, and take it to the post office. And all of that is part of the shipping cost, So there's really not much money involved in that. And at Christmas time, we can ship 400 or 500 of those a day.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming to do that.
So when you think shipping and handling, well, why do I have to pay for handling? That's why.
Right. Yes, and you're dealing with perishables, so I can understand the challenges that you face doing that. Mm-hmm. So how do you approach product developing, meaning deciding which new items you'll introduce without losing that heritage feel? Because I know you've introduced new things since you all took over.
Well, we just do what the customer really wants. last year, the young people in Ann Arbor in particular started coming and asking for Dubai chocolates. And so it's like, well, we need to find out what that is. And so, yeah, we started making our own Dubai chocolates. And so we sell those now. So it really depends on the customer. Our customer base kind of picks and chooses what we sell.
One year we were on vacation. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One year
Go
we
ahead,
were on vacation, and we went into. It's our habit to go into chocolate stores. So we went to a chocolate store, and they had this dairy-free bar, and we bought a couple of them. And so we're in the car, we break them, each try some of it, and it was really good. And it's like, we can do this. We should be doing this. So we came home and figured out what it would take for us to be able to make a dairy-free bar here. And now we do it. And we don't do a lot. We can only do maybe 10 pounds a week, but we probably only do 40 or 50 pounds a year. But for that person who wants, a dairy or needs a dairy-free chocolate option, it means everything. And so that's how that one came about. And we visited dozens of chocolate stores across the country.
For fun.
As part of vacation.
Yeah.
Checking out the competition. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
But now, what I was going to say earlier, I have no clue what Dubai chocolates are.
You want me to explain?
Yeah, go ahead, explain it.
So Dubai chocolates is it's a candy, a filling that goes into a chocolates, like a bonbon. That's how we do them, as bonbons. And it's a cream filling. It's got ground pistachios in it. It's got phyllo dough, like in baklava. So it's really all the ingredients of baklava in a kind of liquid form that we pipe into a shell and then eat it. It's not nearly as sweet as a normal chocolate. So if you like chocolate, you don't like things really sweet, it's kind of perfect for you. But it's got that Middle Eastern flair. It was actually first developed in Dubai, and it's very popular. It's popular enough that the phyllo dough, it's a special phyllo dough that is used. We have to special order it because the Mediterranean grocery stores around can't keep it in stock because so many people are making this Dubai chocolate right now.
I'm definitely going to have to try some of that. Now, what business decision are you two most proud of since 2013?
I'd probably moving back downtown would be it was very smart business decision for us.
Yeah, and we stayed open during COVID. We had normally we have 25 employees. We had 2 employees plus Sally and I, and that Easter when COVID was so bad, Sally and I made and packaged and shipped 1,200 Easter bunnies. That's a lot. Of
we
Easter
worked
bunnies.
really hard. It was a really hard time.
And so
really hard.
Yes,
the
definitely.
easy thing to do would have said, we don't have enough employees, let's just shut down. But we said, no, we can't do everything, but we can do what we can. And when in late spring and the summer, when businesses started coming back online, our sales exploded coming out of COVID. And so 2020 was the biggest sales increase year that we've had since we've owned Gilbert Chocolates. So, it's a fun business, and 95% of the people who are in our stores are thrilled to be here. And so it's easy to enjoy it. The employees like each other, and I think they like us. And so it's not hard. I mean, it's a job, when you've worked 18-hour days for 14 days in a row running up to Christmas. It's like, wow, am I tired? But only 10 days to go. And so, we just, that Finding Nemo song, right? Just keep swimming. We're saying that a lot at Christmas time. Just just keep swimming. The end is in sight. But yeah, those are the things. Moving downtown, staying open as much as we were allowed to. In Michigan, chocolates are considered grocery items. So we were allowed to stay open because we were groceries. And that was a godsend for us.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to be proud of. Let's talk a little about partnership and leadership dynamics. Now, as a married couple running a business, how do you balance your personal and professional lives?
Well, they kind of are meshed together, I would say. The fact that we don't have kids at home anymore, it's just the two of us. In fact, we talked about COVID. We had just finished our upstairs, and we had put in a big room where we were going to have chocolate parties up here. People could make their own candy, and it was going to be a party. But it's like an apartment. And so in 2020, we actually lived here for 2.5 years. But we just come upstairs and go downstairs and work and come back upstairs and watch TV. It's a good thing we were older, because I don't know how young people did it. But anyway, so I would say that they're pretty much intertwined, given our age and the fact that the way we are made nowadays. It used to be that when Brian would go to work, he'd be gone, 70 hours a week or whatever. And it's just a lot different now.
Yeah.
Sally says, she says there is no balance. She says it's all the same.
That's right. Well, I'm guilty of that too. So, we do it together.
Yeah. There is a balance, but it's not strictly segregated. If we're watching TV and one of us remembers, we've got this marketing thing we're supposed to get ready for. What do you want to do about that? Well, there's no boundary there that says, it's after 5. We're not talking about that. We'll talk about it, whenever the thought arises. And, we live in the modern world, so our computer systems, even in a small company, they're all integrated. So we can log onto the computer at home and get to the same files that we get to at the office. So anywhere we're at, we do a good job, but when we're on vacation, we don't spend much time at all talking about chocolate.
Or if the kids are home, we don't spend a lot of time at it either. So,
Well, that's balance, Sally. That's balance.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you all divide responsibilities day to day? And has that evolved over time?
It has. I do most of the purchasing, the ordering. I do all of the maintenance. When you're using 125-year-old equipment, you have to be handy to keep it running. And not like other things, now there's some online tool shops where you can design a part and send it out in a couple of days. It'll show up in the mail exactly the way you want it. So that's been very beneficial. A few times when I had bearings that aren't made anymore go out, and I'm able to get, a custom thing. I do, we've done 4 or 5 fairly significant engineering projects here. So we put PLCs, industrial computers, on our old equipment to control the temperatures and the process more precisely. I do all of that. Sally does all of the
what do I do? I don't know.
The store finances. She does all the managing of the finances of the stores. Payroll.
Trying to keep everything in organized, that sort of thing. It's not that much different for me from running a household to managing the items in the factory that need to be kept up to date and things like that. And it's just kind of natural for me to do those things. And then the employees, I do most of the hiring, most of the interviewing, that sort of thing.
What could you say have you all learned about each other through the process of co-leading a company?
I never knew how hard of a worker my wife is.
Yeah, everybody thinks they stay-at-home moms don't work hard.
I can hardly keep up with it.
That's awesome.
I never knew how lazy he was.
You guys are right.
We love each other. Can you tell? We do.
So with that being said, you all are leading the company together, and this happens between people who are co-leaders. They have conflict. So how do you guys handle
Yeah.
conflict or different visions for what the business should be doing?
We have we've had our knockdown dragouts. I mean, but you know, I mean, but we love each other, so we get along. We find a way to make it work, and usually we do it Brian's way.
Except for the 90% of the time we do it Sally's way.
That is not true.
So let's talk a little bit about community and brand impact. Now, Gilbert Chocolates is a community landmark. How international have you been about, or not international, but do you ship internationally?
Not really. The chocolate doesn't do well internationally.
Yeah, a handful of times. We actually had someone in the store this afternoon wanting us to ship to Guam.
And we usually refuse.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work well. You know, the chocolate isn't.
That wasn't the word I was looking for, but since it came out, I said, let's go with it. You know, the word I was looking for was how intentional have you been about community involvement and outreach, since Gilbert Chocolates is a community landmark?
Well, whenever anyone asks us to speak, we always say yes. And we're always glad to share about Gilbert Chocolates. We are part of the Jackson County, Michigan Historical Society because we are part of the history. And so we help sponsor the Civil War muster that goes on every year here. There was a group of teenagers looking for sponsorship for their Civil War uniforms. And so we help sponsor that. We're also involved in the Downtown Development Authority downtown and try to stay involved in the things that they're doing when we can, that sort of thing. So I guess that's probably the biggest way we make it. We don't really go to fairs. We don't really do, the events that are going on all the time. It just isn't in our wheelhouse anymore. So that's our biggest way of helping.
We have a couple of chocolate fountains as well. So here in Jackson County, Michigan, they have a huge, I'm going to say close to 1,000 people who go to a daddy-daughter dance at Valentine's Day. And we supply the chocolate and the chocolate fountain for that. And you get to meet hundreds of people when you're doing that. And you haven't seen a good time until you see 500 little girls standing in line waiting to put their marshmallow in a chocolate fountain. And dad saying, don't get chocolate on your dress because mom's going to be mad.
But
and then, after the first bite, the chocolate's on the dress and
they're
all
not that
bets
bad.
are off.
They're not that bad. But they do pile their plates. I have to say that because mom's not there.
I'm sure it's all worth it too.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Now, do you all see yourselves as brand stewards or brand innovators, or do you see yourself as a blend of both?
I would say stewards more than innovators because people love their chocolates and they don't really want to change. When they come into the store, that's what they want. They want their whatever it is that they love the most.
Yeah, even when we're introducing the chocolates to new folks, we're always focused on the legacy of Gilbert Chocolates. So, we bought the company, which is a big thing, but we also bought the history and we bought the recipes and we bought that responsibility to provide the world-class chocolates to the people here in Southern Michigan.
Yeah, even the candy that we invented, we invented what I call Ritz Carmelton. It's based entirely on the fact that this building we're in now used to be a flour factory, is that right? Or cracker factory. It was a cracker factory at one time. They know this because they found the flour in the walls. And it turns out that it was called the Jackson, and then the Jackson in 1919 was sold to Ritz, or to Nabisco, and Nabisco came out with the Ritz cracker that looked an awful lot like the Jackson many years later. And so in honor of that, we now have a candy that we use the Ritz cracker and put caramel in it and chocolate and we call it the Ritz Carmelton, and we have a Ritz peanut butter. So even the newer candy that we have introduced has a historical flair, I guess.
That's awesome. That sounds tasty. I'm definitely
It is.
interested
I
in
really like it.
sampling that. What role do local partnerships or events play in keeping the brand connected to the community? You mentioned a few things that you all do. Do you think that that has a impact on sales or keeping the name out
Yeah.
there,
Mhm.
or what do you think?
Well, at Christmas time, a couple dozen anyway, of the local companies come to us, and we provide the Christmas presents either for their customers or for their staff. A local bank here in town each year has us prepare and actually ship out for them 500 plus packages of chocolates to their employees. So they're the largest, but there's lots of folks that come here at Christmas time, and we provide the gifts.
And then there's other groups too, like the Lions Club, that we sell our candy to them at wholesale prices, essentially, and then they use it as a fundraiser. So we do have some of those groups as well that we like the Catholic Charities. We for their dinner we provide a token of chocolate, and that they is at a reduced rate, and so that sort of thing happens too.
Have you seen your efforts impact local pride or tourism in Jackson?
Tourism for sure. We have chocolate tours here that we have every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, except for between Thanksgiving and Valentine's Day. We don't do them because it's a crazy place to be during that time of the year. We have people come in from out of town. We've had, bus tours. We can only handle 30 or 40 people at a time. But they'll come in and do that. The most interesting one was last year when Ohio State was playing Michigan State University. We had a tour bus of Ohio State fans who were going to the game that stopped in, and they called in advance. And we gave them a tour on that Saturday morning. They stopped on the way to the game, and then they shopped in downtown Jackson for a couple hours before they went up to Lansing, which is about half an hour from here. And so those people wouldn't have stopped. They were coming to go to Gilbert Chocolates, and so it's.
There's several that have done that.
Yeah, we have those things. It's not a huge part of our business, but every little bit helps.
Yes, definitely, of course. So around the year 2012 and 2013, you were consulting and you decided to take a piece of candy home to the wife, and you all purchased this company. And you're owners of a legacy company. So my question is, what advice would you give entrepreneurs who are listening or watching and they're interested in reviving or acquiring a legacy business rather?
Well, I'll answer this. The biggest thing is to avoid debt. Debt is the enemy of the small business. So when we moved downtown, we really would have liked to buy a new enrobing machine. It's our major piece of equipment. And the technology we had was pretty old and it was hard to control. But we didn't because it was a lot of money. A couple years later, my son was graduating from the University of Toledo with an engineering degree. And for his group's senior project, they chose modernizing our 50, 60-year-old enrobing machine. So they came in and they put sensors on the machine, they put controls, put a PLC on it to control it. So it takes all these measurements and makes the decisions based on what the measurements are. And then, so they did that, and a new machine would have cost us upwards of $250,000. That upgrade that they did to the machine cost me $472. So there's almost always another way than to go out and spend money you don't have on equipment that you might or might not need. And I've seen so many small businesses fail because they had to have the biggest and the best machine. They just couldn't compete without it. But as soon as there's a little downturn, as soon as COVID comes around and your sales go to zero for a couple months, the banks don't care. No, they can't care. I mean, they have a mission to protect their investors' money, and so they can't care. And so they will call the note so fast, and if you don't have a note, they can't call it. So that's probably the biggest piece of advice. The other piece is we all get these pie-eyed, we see and it's like, wow, there's this big opportunity. There's all this stuff we can do. And all we have to do is spend $1 million and we're going to be multimillionaires in a year. Probably not. You're probably going to be broke in a year. You don't need the equipment to produce 100,000 pounds of chocolate when you're only producing 20,000, when you're only selling 20,000 pounds. Because if you don't sell it, it doesn't matter what you can make. And really, selling's harder than operating a company. The sales are hard. Because you have to convince someone else what to do something. The operations side, at least for me, is easy. And I've just seen so many people fail because they think it's going to be easy. They think sales are going to be easy. And they're not. Yeah,
I would say that the money is a big deal. The first year of our winter was really, really tough. So if we had not had some kind of savings, we would have been in big trouble because the factory, it lost power for 4 days when it's supposed to be making candy. And then we had that big ice storm and it just snowed every day. And it was a tough year. And so not having everything spent was a good thing. And then the other thing is that you need to know what you're buying. We knew we were buying a brand and that the brand was very valuable. We weren't buying, that was the most important thing. And so you have to know what you're buying as well so that you don't ruin it, by making all kinds of changes or, if you're buying something like that.
Yes, understood. What's one lesson you've learned as leaders that has surprised you?
That's a tough one.
This one, it didn't surprise me. It makes so much sense. When you're the leader, people don't care as much about what you say as what you do. If what you're saying and what you're doing don't match up, they know. If you're the leader of a machine shop and you say you always have to wear your safety glasses when you go out in the shop, and then you go out in the shop without your safety glasses on, what does that say to all of the people in the shop? It doesn't matter. He doesn't care. Okay. On the other hand, when they see you picking the trash up off the floor, they say, cleanliness matters here. And if he cares, then I guess I should care too. So the actions and the words have to align. And you have to lead in what you do, not in just what you say. Don't expect your employees to be willing to do jobs that you're not willing to do.
I would say that what I would have learned that was most surprising to me was how my employees could show all their emotions, but I could not. They could get mad or they could get frustrated, but if I got mad or frustrated, it was really terrible. And so as the leader, you have to be calm and you have to be always pleasant. And even when you're a little annoyed, you can't show it because it upsets them very much.
Yeah. Yes, they're watching you. It's like if I'm on the airplane and there's turbulence and the flight attendant is calm, I'm calm. But if I see her scared, now I'm really scared. So yeah,
that's right. Matters. Absolutely.
Yep.
So how has this journey impacted you two personally, not just as business owners, but as individuals, as people?
Well, there's lots of pieces of that. A couple of weeks ago, we did a talk at a local historic society, and that night we went out to a pizza joint, just a local pizza joint. And as I was going to the buffet to get my pizza, I hear this lady said, "That's him! That's him! That's the guy that gave our talk." And it's like, oh, she's talking about me. And so we are a lot more in the public eye than we ever were. And there's a local TV station here. We're on it several times a year anyway. And so people know us. People know us that we don't know. And, we're not famous, but locally we're known. We're known by people
Pretty
who we don't
recognizable.
know. Yeah. And so that's something to get used to. I can't imagine how, the national celebrities feel about it. It has to be an uncomfortable thing.
And what about you, Sally? You got any way that the business has impacted you personally?
That's a good answer. When someone comes into my store and they start talking to me like they know me because they saw me on the TV, that is a weird feeling, that sort of thing. So yeah, I guess so. And then just, people in general, especially around Jackson, if they know Gilbert Chocolates, then they're really in awe. And it's like, wow, it's really weird. It's just me.
So my final question to you two, what's next for Gilbert Chocolates, and how do you envision the future of the brand under your leadership?
What's next is like more of the same. Right now, we're focusing on adding our products into some of the local businesses. We make an assortment of chocolates that's designed for like wine tasting. And so we're working to try to get some wineries to start carrying our chocolates. We're working on entering into the resort servicing business. So a casino in Las Vegas has contacted us, and we're working on getting our product there. And then we'll leverage that to try to get into some of the Detroit area casinos to do the same thing. So it's expensive to run a retail store, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And so if you can get your chocolate into places where you don't have to increase your selling expense, that makes a huge difference. And you can provide the products to them a lot cheaper than you can when you're selling them in your own store.
We've kind of maxed out on our ability to have stores. We've got 3, and that, as far as Brian and me running it, we're kind of at the limit on that. And so we're looking for ways to make it larger bulk purchases from other businesses to keep the factory busy.
And we're trying to get our children involved in the business.
We're
too.
hoping.
So I didn't ask you this earlier. I know I said that was my final question, but you mentioned the factory. How many employees do you all have?
At the factory, right now we have 6, counting us 8. And then we have about 17 or 18 employees in the stores. The stores are open about 72 hours a week. So it takes, significant staff to keep the stores running. So.
Well, yes, you guys are busy. Brian, Sally, thank you both for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story beautifully blends tradition, entrepreneurship, and vision, showing how preserving a legacy can also mean driving it boldly into the future. For everyone listening, if you're ever in Jackson, Michigan, be sure to visit Gilbert's Chocolates and experience a true piece of sweet history yourself. You can also explore their delicious handcrafted treats online. And trust me, your taste buds will thank you. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Please rate it, review it, and please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube so you will never miss one of our episodes. Now, as always, keep innovating, keep creating, and never stop unveiling the innovator in you. Until next time, I'm your host, A.D. Edwards, signing off.
See you next time.